In Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia this evening, families, neighbors gathering together in deep grief.
Knowing that there are parents out there, that their kids are not coming home.
Mourning 8 lives lost, killed in one of the worst mass shootings in Canadian history. 6 of them children.
She is forever my baby, because that's what she was. She was a baby.
Praying for a young girl critically wounded.
She's fighting, like she's gonna make it out of this.
In the face of unthinkable loss, a national show of unity, grace, and support. Canada standing alongside Tumbler Ridge. It is just after 6 o'clock Mountain Time, that's local time in Tumbler Ridge. Many in the community are gathering right now just outside the town hall, which will soon be the scene of a vigil, an opportunity once again for a community to come together after days of grief. The Prime Minister and other party leaders are all in Tumbler Ridge right now. They took a moment earlier, it was an emotional moment, to lay flowers at what is now a growing memorial and to pay their respects. Prime Minister Mark Carney among those expected to speak at this evening's vigil. Welcome to our national CBC News special coverage. I'm Ian Hannah-Mansing.
And I'm Gloria Makarenko, and I want to also welcome listeners on CBC Radio. We will be bringing you that vigil as it begins. Now, this remote, tight-knit community deeply mourning the loss of so many after that mass shooting earlier this week that reached the halls of the town's secondary school, grades 7 to 12, so many of the victims so young. All of the children just 11, 12, and 13 years old. Abel Muwansa, Ezekiel Schofield, Tikaria Lampert, Zoe Benoit, and educator Shanda Avigana Durand were all killed at the Tumbler Ridge Secondary. Also found dead in their home were the shooter's mother and half-brother Emmett Jacobs and Jennifer Strang, identified by police using her legal name, Jennifer Jacobs. And still in hospital tonight is 12-year-old Maya Gabala. We know from her family that she was shot multiple times and is still in intensive care.
We have a team of journalists with us tonight. Carolyn Bargut and Brian Labby are both in Tumbler Ridge and have been this week. Ashley Burke is in our parliamentary bureau as we wait to hear from the Prime Minister. Let's bring in Brian Labby, who's just outside the high school. And Brian, give us a sense of how the community is doing tonight, just ahead of this vigil with the Prime Minister.
Well, people, Ian, are still struggling, and the emotions are just so strong. Sadness, anger. I chatted with some folks at a coffee shop earlier today, and, you know, they were having quiet conversations. The mood was very somber, people hugging each other, and that's what we've seen since we arrived here in the community on Wednesday. People stopping on the street to hug one another, to embrace one another, and to shed tears. So much sadness here. I was chatting with the co-owner of that bistro, Tiffany Hildebrand, and she was telling me about her 13-year-old son, Harley, who didn't go to school on Tuesday. He wasn't feeling well, so he stayed home. His best friend, Ezekiel Schofield, was killed in the shooting. Her other son, Duncan, was in the school when the shots rang out. He and several classmates were basically locked in an equipment room in the gym to stay safe. He survived, but he told us that he doesn't know if he can ever go back to Tumbler Ridge Secondary School. Of course, federal leaders are here. They're hoping to show their support for the people who are here, who are so sad. And obviously, the Prime Minister has said that Canadians are mourning with the people of Tumbler Ridge, and they're praying for the survivors.
It was surreal to be standing where you are now and to have the high school behind me. Feels the same way to watch you doing that with the high school behind you. And I've heard from people as well, high school students, wondering if they ever will be able to go back. It's hard to imagine what it would be like to walk back into that school, Brian. The RCMP spoke today. They revealed some new details about their investigation. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so they're describing a situation that was pure chaos. When they entered the school, they're saying that the shooter, 18-year-old Jesse Van Rootselaar, was on the second floor and was essentially hunting for victims. not specifically targeting anyone in particular. They're saying it was a chaotic scene. The fire alarms were going off, shots were ringing out. They were also saying that the forensic analysis inside the school is going to take some time. Obviously, it's still behind police tape. The forensic analysis is expected to go into next week. They described the scene as incredibly traumatic. So officers are going through all of that. They're also talking about how they seized 4 weapons that were involved in the shooting. They still don't know the source of those weapons. They did say that they are not the same guns that the RCMP had seized from the Van Rootselaar home in the past. So the police are continuing their investigation. They have interviewed more than 80 people, and they're saying that those more interviews will still have to be done.
Brian Labby live in Tumbler Ridge this evening, and we'll be coming back to you throughout this special, especially after the speeches from dignitaries there. Let's bring in the LaRock family now. Linda and her granddaughter Maya live in Tumbler Ridge. Maya was in class at the school when the shooting started. Thank you both for taking the time to talk to us. And Maya, I'd like to start with you. You've been through so much this week, and if I may, how are you holding up?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
How are you holding up?
It's, I don't want to push you to say anything that you don't want to say. And it's a bit awkward to be doing this interview remotely the way we are now. But can you tell me a little bit about how you've been feeling, especially in the last day or so, Maya?
Pretty upset and shocked.
Yeah. And Linda, how are you doing?
I guess I'm having as good a day as I could. It's difficult to have gone through this. The worry about your child, are they coming out, are they not coming out, and what's happening.
And so here
Very
we are,
concerned.
a few days, Linda, removed from what happened. And my experience talking to people there is that there was a lot of shock in the first 24 hours after that. Then, people kind of sort of felt the weight of what happened in the second day. The names came out. Most people knew who had died, but when the names came out, it just added to the grief. And here we are now on Friday evening, Linda, and I just wonder, have you felt your emotions changing at all as we go through the week?
The first day was just numb. We were absolutely numb. We couldn't feel anything. And then as the names came out and we knew these kids, the incredible sadness came on. But it has moved into a phase of wanting to be with the community and spread the love and feel the love and be with everybody to try and help them. This is an amazing community that bonds together. We're like a huge family. Everybody helps everybody. And we've started into that now where we want to do things for other people. Now we're past the initial shock. And we just want the acceptance and the love. We're not looking for blaming. This community will come out of this stronger. I firmly believe that, because we are a loving, close-knit family and we help each other.
Linda, though, there are going to be some challenges.
We don't want the...
I'm
yes,
sorry
there are.
to interrupt.
And one of the big challenges... One of the challenges is this is a mental health issue. This is not a terror issue. This is not somebody just suddenly going offside. This is a mental health issue. And we have no mental health supports up here. So if you want something for your children, you're either going to Vancouver or another province, and it's very difficult to get. If we don't get more mental health challenges, there's going to be other issues that come up. I'm not saying this would happen again, but there's going to be other mental health challenges, and we need some help. We need some help from everybody, the province, the country, anybody that can give us that help we need.
Yeah, I mean, Tumbler Ridge, I don't have to tell you, is quite isolated. It's a long drive just to get to Fort St. John or Chetwynd, much less to get from Fort St. John or from Tumbler Ridge to Prince George, let's say. So it takes a long time to get to bigger centers with more resources. Maya, I've talked to some of the other young people from the high school about going back to school and some of them tell me that they're looking forward to some kind of structure, some kind of schooling somewhere, but they can't imagine going back into the secondary school. How are you feeling about that?
I don't want to go back to that school.
Yeah. Have you heard anything at all, either Linda or Maya, about when classes will resume, not in that building, but maybe somewhere else in Tumbler Ridge?
I've just heard a few minutes ago that the school district is looking at different options for the kids going back, not to that school, but where else they can take them, what else they can do. And we're definitely not going back to school on Tuesday as originally had planned. That they'll be making an announcement and letting us know what will be happening soon. We have an amazing, amazing group of teachers up here, and they have fought for our kids. We're so grateful because they taught our kids in that school which alarm meant which thing. So when that alarm went, those kids knew there was a dangerous person in the school. They knew, go to the closet, hide. Our teachers taught our kids that. They kept them safe. And now they want to keep them safe and with mental health as well. So we're looking to them to lead us through this, and I know they will. They have nothing but the best for our kids.
Maya, have you been talking, I presume you have, to your friends, classmates from the secondary school, and what kind of conversations are you having?
Just how everyone's feeling.
All right. As I say, it can't be easy to talk about these things, especially remotely like this. I appreciate both of you taking the time. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
And as we watch the political leaders, David Eby, the Premier, federal leaders here as well, the Mayor is one of the people who is expected to speak. Don Davies, we see there, the interim NDP leader, and of course, and a member of Parliament for in the Vancouver area. And Gloria, you know, I do think part of talking to Maya, you know, who's young, and you're standing in front of a camera, it's not the easiest way to communicate, but I do get a sense of, you know, she's still going through, it seems like, the shock of this, not hard to imagine.
There's no doubt, and you know, I have had the occasion to have interviews with some young people there as well, and that's a common sentiment. There's not a lot of people that are looking forward to going back to that school.
Yeah. Listen, as we wait for this vigil to get underway, it is scheduled to begin in 2 minutes' time. We don't know if they're going to be staying on time, but we believe the latest information is that it is going to start as soon as 2 minutes from now. But I want to share with you some of the messages from families of the victims. Here's the mother of 12-year-old Takaria Lampert on what her daughter was like.
Tiki was her name. Takaria. We called her Tiki. My Tikaroo. She grew loud and proud on her own time. Not a person to ever be pushed or rushed. But when it was her time, she was a storm. I called her my Tiki torch. She's always been a blazing light in the darkness. And if you didn't manage to see her, you would definitely hear her. She was a tiki torch powered by love.
A powerful statement from a mother who is mourning, and we're going to take you now live to Tumbler Ridge. Our television audience can see a moment of silence. Some of the people in the high school holding up pictures of classmates who were killed earlier this week. And for those of you listening on radio, this was a moment of silence. Here we go.
In grief. We gathered to honor the lives that were taken, to stand with the families who are carrying unimaginable pain, and to remind one another that none of us walks through this alone. Tonight, on Treaty 8 territory, and we acknowledge the Indigenous people who have cared for this land since time immemorial. We thank them for their stewardship and for standing with us in a moment of heartbreak. This evening is about remembrance. It's about reflection. It's about love. We offer our prayers for those who are recovering, for those who are injured, and for those who continue to carry physical and emotional wounds from this tragedy. I ask that we all approach this vigil with the respect and dignity this moment deserves. To our media friends who are here, thank you for helping share our story. We ask that you please be mindful and respectful of the families and those that are grieving. In the days since this tragedy, we have seen heartbreak, but we have also seen extraordinary compassion and courage. Neighbors checking in on neighbors, strangers offering help, leaders from across our province and country standing with us. That is what tonight is about. We are a small community, but we are a strong community. We are a family, and in moments like this, families come together. Before we continue, I would like to acknowledge two young members of our community and the people that helped them, Jeff and Andrew Slovic, the brothers who organized the first vigil. In the immediate aftermath of this tragedy, your leadership, your compassion, and initiative helped bring people together when we needed it most. Thank you. This evening we'll begin with a prayer from West Moberly Elder George Deserlet, from West Moberly First Nations, and Indigenous Leadership Chief Wilson and Chief Paquette, grounding us in reflection and respect. We are honored by the presence of the Governor General, the Prime Minister, the Lieutenant Governor, the Premier, and the federal party leaders who have traveled here tonight to stand in solidarity with Tumbler Ridge. We thank them for being with us. We also thank our local members of Parliament and members of the Legislative Assembly for being here with us and for the support during this difficult time. We are also joined by leaders from across our region, province, and country, and we thank them, along with our first responders and frontline workers, for standing with us tonight as we honor the victims and hold close their families and loved ones. There will also be words of faith and reflection, and we will close this vigil together in unity. Let us hold space for one another tonight. Let us remember. Let us support one another. And let us show through our compassion and our presence what this community truly stands for. Again, thank you for being here, Tumbler Ridge Strong. Now I would like to introduce Chief Wilson, Chief Paquette from West Moberly and Soto First Nations, our neighbors and part of the Tumbler Ridge family, to come and stand with me at the podium. And I also at this time, I would like to invite Elder George Deserlet to come up to the mic to give us a First Nation prayer.
It is with great difficulty to say this prayer tonight because of what has happened here. So therefore I will be praying for these that we have lost. But I will also be praying for all of you to have the strength and the courage to pursue the goal of healing, because we're going to all need to do that in the next little while. I'm going to sing one start of a prayer song, and then I'll say the prayer. So in the meantime, to show that we are all standing together, we need to show the spirit of the world, which is every living thing that we see around us, that the Creator put here to help us. We all need to join hands. Haki sabanitono sawino, nigawiaski, namosomak no hamakio o kahio atayohanak. Kendutamat na o makahio takapiwi chihiwik. Kapik tamagino ya ninan kahio tamaga isinwak. Uto makapi mamo pehoya. O giko stoma isinwak kaki kitamahito. Pindutamat na o makasitos kawago o gikahio isinwak. Kaniso kamuaigo kamasko gapo tao mama ayman kawapastako. Machigao ti niganis natawi hono makagio tihtigoak. Asamina piago ao maski kuya so makapmuhti ito. Hak si seho makapisun do tamayan. Tamaginonan. Tamagistonan. Ni nano magtamagay sinwag. Utaho makapi mamo mustigia. Hi. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Howard.
At this time, I'd like to call Chief Wilson forward to say a few words from his nation.
Thank you, Mayor. Jahani J. Tanzi. Hello, everyone. I don't know. words seem to not be enough. I just, when I heard the news, I couldn't fathom what had happened. And our nations have come, Chief Paquette from Soto and Chief Sherry from Blueberry and Chief Valerie Ascoti from Prophet River here. The other chiefs were not able to attend, but their hearts are with us. To the families that have suffered this devastating tragedy, know that we stand with you and that our love wraps around you. We hope that you can heal. We share our sympathies, our empathy, our compassion, and our love with you, and wish that this had never happened. And we pray that you can heal, and then someday, in your own way, be able to forgive what has happened. Thank you for allowing us to be here and sharing this with you.
At this time, I'd like to welcome Chief Paquette from the Soto First Nation.
First of all, I'd like to thank Elder George for the prayer. I didn't want to write a speech. I didn't want to put something forward. I wanted to bring it from my heart. The travesty that happened here is something that's going to go on and live with this town for a long time. I know the feeling. I've been through it. I lost my daughter 13 years ago, and to lose a child is like getting your heart ripped out. But Chief Wilson's right. If we all get together and support one another and work together, because we are family, like the mayor says, we're neighbors, we're Treaty 8. We can all get through this. Even though to this day, every minute that goes by, every day that goes by, I remember my daughter. But you know, family is the biggest part of life. They're the ones that will comfort you when you're down. They will help you. And as parents, we need to talk to our children at least once a week and ask them, how are they doing? Do you have any challenges? I'm not perfect in any way, and I don't think any of us are. But we need to speak to our children more so we can understand the pains they're going through. I'm so honored I got to speak here today, but I didn't want to come and speak for something like this. It really pains me, and I thank you.
I want to thank Elder George Desolé, Chief Wilson, and Chief Paquette, as well as all the chiefs that have made it from Treaty 8. Now I would like to invite our local faith leader, Pastor Cross from the New Life Assembly to come forward and offer a prayer and words of comfort for our community.
Thanks, Daryl. Thank you to everybody who's here. Thanks for coming and being here. So we definitely need to gather together to pray for sure. And I'm not going to say good evening. I'm just going to say evening. And I know it's there's a lot of people that have a lot of things they want to say, and it's not about hot button topics or posturing in any way. It's about our children. Amen? It's about our children. And, you know, I'm referred to as preacher, and that's what I do, but I'm not going to do that right now. But, you know, the church is always open up on the hill, and I just feel, I've been feeling it for a while to light up that cross on the roof somehow. And so if you're here today and you have a really tall ladder, let me know. I'd like to do that for our children. And I want to pray. It was a difficult time. Everybody, all of us, received the active shooter notice on our telephones, and I wondered if that was real. And a couple minutes later, I was up at the church with my wife, and we heard the sirens, and I really didn't know what to expect. And when it was over, and we were able to go to the hockey arena and watch the families come into the arena, or the children and their parents, and they were reunited, and there were some very, very emotional moments, and then people were allowed to leave, and some families were left behind just waiting for their children that didn't show up. And that was a very difficult time to just hold hands and cry and pray. And it's a difficult time for all of us. And we'll get through it. We'll get through it together. But when I wrote that down, and I said to myself, well, our daughter has passed away, and it's been a year, and we're not through it. So we're not going to get through it. But it'll just be us having to live with the consequences. And you know, John 3:16 starts off by saying, "For God so loved the world." And God loves all of us, everybody. And so I'm having a difficult time with sitting with parents and that have lost their children and just crying, and you know, for the rest of us to gather together and encourage one another. It's a very difficult time for a lot of people, and we've all lost friends, and children have lost brothers and sisters, and it's a difficult time for all of us. We've lost children from our church, and it's a difficult time. So let's pull together, and I just want to pray. Lord, we pray, God, that you would speak to our hearts and our minds, and that you would help us to have strength for the day. Help us to work together and to be together, and to love each other, and to spread the love to everyone. And just help us all, Lord God, to get through this difficult time by loving each other. And I just pray that in Jesus' name. Amen.
It is now my honor to invite Her Excellency, the Governor General of Canada, Mary Simon, to join us and share a few words.
Unusakut, good evening, bonsoir. Isumagia tseapusi, ilaunasi takaninuna haktosi, kanatamiulimanon. I am deeply moved to be here with you to offer my condolences on behalf of all Canadians This nation and many of the world's leaders, including their majesties, the King and Queen, stand behind you. I cannot fathom the depth of your sorrow or the shock, the fear and horror you have endured. As parents, we watch our children grow, learning and experiencing the world through their eyes. We find hope in their innocence and imagine a future where they will thrive and make their mark in the world. We are drawn to the irresistible brightness of their spirit. We cannot imagine life without that brilliant spark in it. So when the unthinkable becomes real, we are plunged into shadow, we still seek that light. With all their brilliance, your children made a lasting mark on this community and on the lives they touched. Your memories of them will continue to shine brightly through this dark time. I wish to thank the school personnel, the first responders, the RCMP, medical personnel, and mental health professionals who have been supporting Tumbler Ridge throughout this tragedy. They are our heroes. And to the wider community, know this: there is no right or wrong way to grieve. Il n'a pas de bonne ou mauvaise façon
right
de vivre
or wrong way
un deuil.
to experience one's grief.
But I encourage you to lean on each other, to listen to one another, so that the grief may be easier to bear. Be there for the families. Let them know they are not alone on this difficult journey. Give yourselves the space and time to grieve in the days, weeks, and months ahead. Laissez-vous le temps et l'espace de vivre
Give
votre
yourself
peine.
the time and the space to grieve.
Remember that you are not alone. Le Canada est avec vous.
Canada stands with
is
you.
with you. Merci, Nakoumik. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. It is now my privilege to invite Prime Minister of Canada, the Right Honourable Mark Carney, to offer a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you all for letting me be here with you this evening. I know that nothing I can say will bring your children home. I know that no words from me or anyone can fill the silence in your homes tonight, and I won't pretend otherwise. But I, the leader of the opposition, the leader of all the federal parties, wanted you to hear, not from Ottawa, not through a screen, but standing here together in your home. We wanted you to hear the Canadians are with you, and we will always be with you. We wanted you to hear that whatever portion of your sadness that Canadians can bear to help to ease your heavy load, we will gladly do so. La population canadienne est avec
The
vous.
people of Canada are with you.
Nous serons toujours.
We will always be with you, by your side.
I've spent the last few hours in Tumbler Ridge. With my colleagues, I've sat with families, first responders, friends, neighbors, who've had to live through something that no one should ever have to endure. And we've listened, and we felt what's always defined this community. People caring for each other. That is who you are. In tough economic times, you didn't leave. You stayed. You helped your neighbors find work. You kept the lights on at the rink, and the doors open at the school. When the wildfires threatened, you checked in on the seniors down the block. You loaded trucks. You made sure that no one was left behind. And when the unimaginable happened on Tuesday, you were there again. First responders at the school in less than 2 minutes, teachers shielding their children. You held each other as you're holding each other right now. This is grace. It's what we do for each other. It's what we receive from each other. Open hearts when the world falls apart. Tumbler Ridge is full of grace this evening. Tumbler Ridge est plein de grâce ce soir.
Tumbler Ridge is full of grace this evening.
I want to speak for a moment about those we lost. Abdel Monza, a bright, shining, smiling, ambitious young man who loved school so much that he teared up when his father suggested homeschooling. Zoe Benoit, resilient, vibrant, caring, strong 12-year-old who loved art, singing, playing with her siblings. Tiki Lampert, Tiki Torch, a young woman powered by love and happiness who loved her siblings, painting, cooking, crafts, K-pop, demon hunters. Ezekiel Schofield, a hockey player who always had a smile on his face. Kylie Smith, beautiful, kind, innocent soul, an artist who dreamed of studying in Toronto one day. Shanda, Avugana Durand, who on Tuesday went to Tumbler Ridge Secondary School so that students could learn, who stayed to protect. There's no greater act of love. Tonight, Maya and Paige are in BC Children's Hospital in Vancouver, and we're praying for them and the others who are wounded. Just as we pray for Jennifer and Emmett, who were taken from their home, for they too deserve to be mourned. I'd like to share one other thing with you this evening. In 1989, a young woman was sitting in a classroom in Montreal when a gunman opened fire. She was shot 4 times. She survived. 14 others of her friends and classmates did not. And in the weeks that followed, still recovering from her wounds, she made a decision to go back and finish her degree. It wasn't easy. It took years. The pain didn't disappear. It never fully has. But she built a life. She became an engineer. She raised 4 children. And now she serves with my colleagues in the House of Commons. And this week she spoke through tears about your children. I share her story not because healing is simple. It's not. Not because there's a timeline for grief. There isn't. No one can tell you how to share your burden. But that woman, Natalie Provost, is proof, living, breathing proof, that it's possible to endure the unendurable, that the horror of what happened doesn't have to be the end of what's to come. Natalie Provost est la preuve vivante qu'il est possible de supporter
that it is possible to endure the unendurable.
We don't just give grace, we receive grace. Grace from Kylie, Ezekiel, Zoe, Tiki, Abel, Shonda. Grace that fills this community, this extended family, gathering in the cold and holding candles for all of your children. And the grace from across Canada. And when we leave here tonight, and some of you go back to quiet houses, some of you go back to empty rooms, please know that you're not alone. Vous n'êtes pas seul.
You're not alone.
When you wake up tomorrow and the world feels impossible, know that millions of Canadians are with you. When the cameras leave and the quiet sets in, know that we still will be here. And know that we shall need you too. Because Canada is a community that relies on each other's grace. And may that grace bless us all.
Now I would like to invite the Leader of the Official Opposition, Honorable Pierre Ovier, to share a few words with our community.
We are a nation with a broken heart, but we are also a nation with open arms. And those arms wrap all of the people of Tumbler Ridge in love. We are all today Tumbler Ridge strong. The Prime Minister spoke of grace. And indeed, Prime Minister, you have shown tremendous grace in bringing together the leaders of all political parties and flying us here together as one. We all lead political parties, but today there are no conservatives. There are no liberals, New Democrats, Greens, or Bloc Québécois. We are all, as we were in that plane together, mothers and fathers. We all watched our kids go to school, expecting them to come back safely. We've all had that experience when the child leaves your sight for even an instant, that terror. That gives us a tiny, minuscule glimpse at the absolute heartache that the parents who have lost so much are suffering today. There are, as the Prime Minister said, no words that will ever fill the infinite gap that is now in your life. Some of you have told me that even this morning you keep waiting for your little one to come running into your bedroom. But all there is silence. To the students at school, the teachers and administrators, you have witnessed an incredible horror that will be indelibly marked on your memories. Out of that, you have shown incredible, relentless courage. Teachers who barricaded kids and protected them from the shooter. Students who protected each other and showed incredible bravery. To the first responders, the police, paramedics, firefighters, and others who came to the rescue, we thank you and we will forever be grateful. To the people of this incredible town, you are the backbone of our nation. As the Prime Minister said, you've survived great hardship, wildfires, closing and reopening of coal mines. The people here are known for the relentless hard work, their hardy nature. You fight your own battles, but you're never never far away from helping a neighbor in need. Some might call these ordinary people, but there is nothing ordinary about the people in this town. You are extraordinary. And to all those who have lost, we remember your loved ones. I met with the parents of Abel Wanza, a popular, charming young man who was loved in school and loved to be there. Kylie Smith's family told me of her dreams of being an artist. Zoe, described by her family in one word, strong. Ezekiel, loved by classmates and by friends. Dekaria Lambert, a light in this community. And Shanda Abiogana Durand. Her husband told me she loved nothing more than her students. He even said that even though gum and candy were against the rules, she would sneak them in past the administrators. And every child was made to feel special on their birthday. Jennifer and Emmett, and those who are surviving and fighting for their lives in hospitals today. These are not just names. Each one of them had a story. Each one of them was special. Each one of them had dreams. So what do we do at their loss? How can we assure that they live on in this world even after they've passed into the next through our memories of their incredible lives? And by holding our own children a little extra tight, remembering that we have nothing but the present. And so I conclude with a short poem. When tomorrow starts without me, and I'm not here to see, if the sun should rise and find your eyes are all filled with tears for me, I wish so much you wouldn't cry the way you did today, while thinking of the many things we didn't get to say. I know how much you love me, as much as I loved you, and each time you think of me, I know you'll miss me too. But when tomorrow starts without me, please try to understand that an angel came and called my name and took me by the hand and said my place was ready in heaven far above, and then I'd have to leave behind all those I dearly loved. But when I walked through heaven's gate, I felt so much at home when God looked down and smiled at me from his great golden throne. He said, "This is eternity, and all I promised you. Today, your life on earth is past, but here it starts anew. I promise no tomorrow, for today will always last. And since each day is the same way, there's no longing for the past. So when tomorrow starts without me, don't think we're far apart. For every time you think of me, I'm right here in your heart."
It is now my honor to invite the Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia, the Honorable Wendy Lascar Kokea, to share a few words with our community.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to each and every one of you from Tumbler Ridge for having us here tonight. I'm here representing the people of British Columbia, and we join you as neighbors and as friends and as your community. Through my husband, I have known what it's like to be from a beautiful small town where people are truly a part of just being a great family, where we look out for each other, where we know every face and every name, and where we are all part of that great village of what it takes to raise a child. And it's these familiar faces where we see them at the soccer field and in the grocery store and at the ice hockey rink. And there will be some beautiful faces missing, and indeed, they will be sorely missed. Remember, please, that you do not grieve alone. Grief is not something that passes quickly. It's painful and it's a slow process. It moves at its own pace, but please, when you feel it, do not retreat, do not withdraw. Stay engaged and please stay connected with one another. Tonight, I want everyone in Tumbler Ridge to know the sincere compassion of an entire province and a country that mourns alongside you. As a mother, I'm here tonight as well as representing the people of British Columbia, and it's absolutely impossible to imagine the pain and sorrow and grief that you are experiencing. I can't imagine sending our children off for the day or our loved ones and that they don't return. My heart aches for you. My thoughts and prayers are sincerely with you. And I want you to know that we are here not only for you tonight, but I promise you and I give you my word that we are here for you as long as it takes, and it will take a long time. Thank you.
It is now my honor to welcome back the Premier of British Columbia, the Honourable David Eby, to share a few words with our community.
I'm joined up here by my colleagues, the Minister of Education, the Minister of Health, the Leader of the Official Opposition Conservatives, Trevor Halford, and Jeremy Valeriot, who is the House Leader of the Green Party. We're here to underline the message that you've heard tonight about the unity of our response as a provincial government across partisan lines. I had the opportunity today to meet Mr. Deely. Does anyone out there know Mr. Deely? I get the feeling he's known here. Mr. Deely was with his son Finn and with Maddie and Paige from his science class. And he asked me, and the students asked me, to share some pieces of their day because they believe that in the darkness and the horror of that day are also in the response of the students in that class, the seeds of what will ensure Tumbler Ridge's recovery, ultimately, from this horrific moment that we're in. Mr. Deely, this will be a bit sensitive. Mr. Deely heard shots, and he recognized them right away. And he called his wife, who was the principal, and he said, "There's a shooter in the school." Mrs. Deely called the police. The police were there in 2 minutes. We know that heroic story. Now, Mr. Deely knew what to do because he and the teachers and the principal and the students practiced for this, never imagining that they would need those skills. He had prepared a chair already to block the door. But there was a problem. Mr. Deely's son Finn had left to go to the washroom just before he heard the shots. And in that moment, he had to make a decision. And he made the decision to lock and block the door with his son outside the classroom to keep the children safe in his science class, the children that he had promised parents he would do everything to protect. That's the kind of guy Mr. Deely is, and that's the kind of decisions that were made on that day. Finn was in the washroom and he has his own horrible story to tell. While the students were waiting in the classroom with Mr. Dealey, there were two smaller kids who had been pulled into the big kids' classroom. And the big kids worked with those children to keep things light. This is terrifying for a little kid. It's terrifying for me. For the young adults who were in that classroom, they spent their time making sure that those small children felt safe, offered snacks, made jokes, kept it light. They put aside their own fear to ensure those kids were looked after. Now, Finn and his dad, they made the unimaginable decision of leaving where they were to see if they could provide assistance. Finn to get out of the washroom, to get back to the classroom. Mr. Dealey, seeing a student in distress in the hallway, critically injured, brought that child into the classroom. Mr. Dealey and two students administered first aid to that child, provided that child with comfort and support, all the while the bigger kids in the classroom supporting the smaller kids. You know, I hope that I'm never called on to do what those students who stepped up that day, I hope I'm never called on to do what they had to do. But having spent a couple days here now in Tumbler Ridge, I can tell you that what they did is emblematic of this town. The teachers in that school, every student in that school, who followed the directions of the teachers, who did what they were told to do, what they trained and practiced to do, saved lives. And in those actions, in those heroic actions, are the seeds of the recovery of this community. Because the future of Tumbler Ridge is in that school. We know that. And I want to promise something to the high school students who are here. I am sure you are anxious about having to go back to that school, and I will promise you that not one of you will ever be forced to go back to that school. We will provide a safe place for you to go to school. And Mr. Dealey asked me, wherever that is, we will work with the school board and we'll make sure that happens, to make sure that his lizard and his fish go to this new place. Because he says it's got to be different, but it also needs to be familiar. Things are going to be different, but there are going to be things that are familiar, and one of those things is the courage and the bravery and the amazing kids, the students, the young adults, the people of Tumbler Ridge. Pray for Maya in the hospital and her family. Pray for the families of the children who didn't come home. We pray for Tumbler Ridge. And we know that better days will come. But for tonight, we remember.
As we are preparing to close the evening, I want to thank each of you for being here. Tonight we have stood together in reflection. We have listened, we have prayed, we have remembered. And in doing so, we have shown what this community is made of. The pain we carry is real. The loss is profound, and the days ahead will not be easy. Grief does not end when this vigil ends. It takes time. It takes patience. And it takes care for one another. But if tonight has shown us anything, it is that we are not alone. We are neighbors, we are friends, we are classmates, and we are colleagues. We are family. In a moment, we invite you to come forward and light a candle in honor of those we have lost. And for the families, we continue to carry this unimaginable weight. Please take your time and stay as long as you need. Hold space for one another. As you leave this evening, I ask that you continue to check in on one another and those around you. I offer grace of kindness, support for the families who are grieving, and remember that healing is something we will do together. To the media, please, please be respectful of the members of this community. We are suffering, especially our youth and our children. They need the space to grieve and work through trauma that most of us cannot even imagine. Tumbler Ridge has been shaken, but we are not broken. We will carry this loss together. We will support one another, and in time, we will heal together. Thank you for your compassion and your strength. Please travel home safely and hold your loved ones close. Again, thank you. Please feel free to come forward.
We have been watching and on CBC Radio listening to a vigil for Tumbler Ridge as provincial and federal and local leaders from the faith community, the Indigenous community, and political community speaking to the people of Tumbler Ridge. I'm Ian Hannamansing alongside Gloria Makarenko. And Gloria, there's so much of what we heard in the last almost hour now. But let me ask you maybe to tell us one thing that stood out for you.
Well, you're right. There was so much there. The theme of grace from the Prime Minister, first off. The opening quote from the Leader of the Opposition, Pierre Poilievre, a nation with a broken heart but with open arms. And Ian, what really strikes me is the number of high-level politicians that are in Tumbler Ridge right now and the absence of politics. And I guess the moment, and our radio listeners can't appreciate this, but when the elder George Desjardins was giving his opening prayer, and he asked people to join hands as he prayed and as he sang, and the camera captured Prime Minister Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre, the Leader of the Opposition, standing next to one another, holding hands. I don't know, for me, that spoke volumes about people leaving their politics behind and coming together as a country and as a people for Tumbler Ridge.
Yeah, that is exactly what I was going to mention as probably the most notable thing. And then Pierre Poilievre reflecting that in his comments later on, where he turned to the Prime Minister and said that you have shown tremendous grace, bringing all the political leaders here together. Sounds like they flew in together. And that and then Pierre Poilievre went on to say, and there we see Pierre Poilievre talking to the interim NDP leader. He went on to say that, we're not politicians tonight. We're mothers, we're fathers, and you don't have to be a parent to feel the intense grief that Tumbler Ridge is going through, but I'm sure every parent, Gloria, you and I are parents, have been thinking about what it would be like to have a child go to a school and have that happen and they don't come back.
Well, and we're looking at the crowds right now who are taking up Mayor Darryl Krakauka on his suggestion that people come forward and light a candle. There's a building group of candles there as part of the vigil and as part of the memorial as well. And I also want to point out that, Ian, we've been very careful about cameras. The media was invited to cover this vigil. There are pool cameras that several of the networks are using tonight, a limited scope, so you're not, flashing back and forth. We're being very careful about that. But I'd like to take you now to Carolyn Bargout. She is just steps away from where tonight's vigil took place. Carolyn, we're talking about some powerful moments we've all just experienced, and it looks like a large showing from the community as well. What's it been like from your perspective?
Well, before the service started, a woman came around and gave these candles to us, and a lot of the people in the crowd were holding these candles, obviously, for the victims of this massacre. It's been very somber. Usually you go to, public events and you can hear lots of people talking or people aren't paying attention. But from where we're standing, there's hundreds, possibly even thousands of people. It's hard to gauge from our viewpoint. But everyone here was silent. People were listening to everything that was said. For me, starting off, the first thing that really hit me was when the pastor was talking, and when he was talking about being in that community center with all of these parents who were anxiously waiting for their children to come. And then he was left with a few parents whose children didn't return. That was incredibly powerful. I felt everyone here feeling very heavy. It's been a very heavy day. People have come from all over. There was a woman I spoke to before this vigil began. She drove for 2.5 hours to be here. She came pulling a trailer. She had 2 horses and a bunch of puppies. And she said that she brought these horses because they're healing horses. And she brought them here because she knew that people would be really sad, and she wanted to do something to help this community. She doesn't even live in this community, but she wanted to be here for them. She brought puppies. A lot of people brought their dogs. I've seen a lot of people hugging. One of the other really touching things that I noticed is that parents brought their children, a lot of small children, teenagers, secondary school, elementary school kids, and some of them were dressed up. There was a little girl in a purple velour dress. There was another child wearing a button-up with a tie. People wanted to be here. They wanted to support each other, and you can really feel the community in this room, or in this area by the town hall. It was a very, very powerful vigil.
That's Caroline Bargout in Tumbler Ridge tonight. Caroline, thank you.
And for those of you who are watching on television or online, these are live pictures from Tumbler Ridge of people who are bringing their candles, in many cases, up to a second memorial that is growing outside the town hall. You can see people at times mingling with some of the speakers, the politicians, and other leaders who spoke. And I just want to underscore something that Gloria said earlier. There was, Gloria, as you know, a vigil 2 nights ago. Mm-hmm. And I was at our live location just outside the high school, and an RCMP officer came by to talk to the media. One of the things that happens on stories like this is you get lots of media, right? The various newspapers, the various television organizations. So there are a lot of us there. And the RCMP officer came by and said, look, there's going to be this vigil, but the people in the community are asking that you not go there. Ben Nelms, our still photographer, was invited by the organizers, but asked to stay far back and be very discreet about how he shot it, and he captured some beautiful pictures. Tonight, as you point out, the media have been invited, and there are not a lot of cameras, as you point out, because we have what we call this pool setup. So just 2 cameras, I think, that are shooting pictures here. And I'll say, while I was in Tumbler Ridge, I had like a significant number of people come up to me and thank me, us, for the media coverage. They appreciate that. But at the same time, we stayed back and we let people come to us. And a lot of people don't want to, but some of them do. And Gloria, as we continue and to tell our radio audience, these pictures that are on our screen right now are so powerful. People consoling each other, people mingling. Look at all the people who are out there at 7:15 on what I think is a fairly cold evening, but they have chosen to come out and now to spend some time in quiet reflection. A woman we're seeing there now, people comforting each other. But one thing I wanted to say to you, Gloria, is another key moment to me from what we heard today was from Premier David Eby. You know, as I watched each of the leaders go to the microphone, and there's Pierre Poilievre, leader of the opposition, as I watched them go up there, I was imagining what will they say? What should they say? And I feel like all of them struck the right note for various reasons. But nobody did what David Eby did, which was recount this incredible story that took us inside the high school. He made it clear that not only did he have the permission of the teacher and the students that he was talking about, but they wanted him to tell this story. And I won't recount the whole thing, but an incredible story of a teacher whose child was going to the washroom while the shooting was happening, and the teacher made the decision to barricade the door as he's supposed to, and yet, even though his child was still in the washroom. And then the one other thing I'll say, and David Eby warned people there saying this is going to be delicate. I won't talk about it in detail here other than to say that students inside that classroom were helping somebody who was badly injured. Older students were comforting younger students. And David Eby finished that story by saying two things that stood out to me. First of all, the future of that community is in that high school. Of course it is, right? These students from grades 7 to 12. But it may not be in that high school that he said he's promising children in that community that if they don't want to go back inside that building, they won't have to. I just thought that was a remarkable speech that he gave.
Well, exactly, and it raises a lot of questions. Therefore, what now? I mean, you pointed out yourself, it's a very small, isolated, remote community, and in order to, you will need a new building. I don't know how many empty buildings there might be there, but you had to do a fair amount of driving when you were doing your coverage over the last several days as well. We heard in the RCMP update earlier this afternoon that they were still, gathering some evidence and going through CCTV cameras from the site, and that they hope to have the school reopened as soon as possible. That was sort of how they left the press conference. And then you have this big question, who wants to go back into that building? So what now?
All right, let's go to Ashley Burke, our parliamentary reporter who has been watching and listening to what's been happening in Tumbler Ridge. The Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition, other political leaders who stood there and didn't speak. Ashley, what were you thinking? What struck you as you watched this event?
Well, Ian, in this moment of national pain, this was a time for the Prime Minister to show leadership on a very human level. You saw the emotion on Mark Carney's face. You heard his voice when he was talking about the students who lost their lives. And it was those very specific details in the speech. That is what stood out to me. When he talked about each student by name and the victims by name, the sports they played, the smiles they were known for, their favorite movies, the activities they loved most, and details about the community of Tumbler Ridge as well, what they've gone through in the past, as he tried to send this message of resilience. And to bring up MP Natalie Provost's story as well, an MP who survived a mass shooting, he was trying to send them this message of hope. It also stood out to me that he gave the speech on behalf of all of the federal party leaders as they come together. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre talked about how the Prime Minister showed grace by inviting all of them there to fly with him on the government plane. That's something we don't normally see. They normally would travel separately. And the Conservative leader said that there are no Liberals, Conservatives, or NDP there today, that they are mothers and fathers. This is really a rare moment where we are seeing political rivals come together to mourn with the community. And the NDP's interim leader earlier said that one of the reasons why they're uniting in this way, in this moment, is that they don't want to normalize a shooting like this in Canada. He said that this can't happen again, and that's part of the message that they are sending by standing together arm in arm.
And actually, it's a message that came out right from the beginning. The local MLA, Larry Neufeld, I interviewed him on Wednesday, I think it was. And I said to him in the interview, and for some reason on X, the social media site, this became controversial among a dozen or so people. But that aside, I said to Larry Neufeld, you're a conservative MLA, but that doesn't really seem to matter, the conservative part of it. And he said, yeah, absolutely not. You know, we're all standing together. Actually, he came by and saw me yesterday as well at Tumbler Ridge to underscore the fact that he felt very comfortable about making that point. Yeah, there was nothing, you know, Ashley, and you have a lot more experience covering politics than Gloria and I do, but, you know, what struck me, I think struck us, is the lack of partisanship. You know, and another thing is, nothing that even seemed to be a coded message about the person responsible for all of this, and what you know, things need to be looked into in terms of that. You know, it struck us, I guess, or me, Ashley, as a remarkably nonpartisan moment. But again, kind of given your time in Ottawa and covering these things, how significant was that to you?
It really was, Ian. There's real political differences between all of these leaders, and at times the debate can be really sharp. But they all appear to recognize that Canadians want them to put politics aside right now. We saw, you know, several moments today where, you know, they stood side by side in Tumbler Ridge and they laid flowers. They were hugging afterwards. That's something we don't normally see. The traveling together, that's also something that's unusual. And in the same spirit, in the House of Commons this week, they didn't square off. Instead, one by one, they delivered messages of condolences, these party leaders. And during the tributes, I was in the chamber and I saw MPs crying in their seats. There were tissues being passed around off camera. There were politicians from different parties afterwards that were crossing the floor to console each other. There were, you know, ambassadors in the audience from all over the world to show their support. And these are moments that are rare, that we don't often see. And as you mentioned, there were no sort of quoted messages that I heard in that speech. And the Prime Minister said himself this week that there'll be times in the days ahead to ask questions about what happened, why it happened, and that's really important. But he said right now that he wanted the focus to be on them grieving together, remembering together, and all of the party leaders we've seen doing that with the Prime Minister.
And you know, Ashley, what I'm about to say is going to be controversial to some people who are listening, but I'm going to say it anyway. At a time of incivility in politics in some places in the world, it is refreshing, I think most of us feel this way, I certainly do, to see the civility here, the respect, the lack of partisanship. And as you say, there are some issues to be discussed here. Even, let me just use one that's fairly neutral, making sure that there are mental health supports in a small town like Tumbler Ridge. That's going to take money, and that's going to take a policy decision by the government. There are going to be political debates to come, but you know, perhaps we're going to see them, those things being debated in a very civil way. You are watching and listening to our special live coverage of the Vigil in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia.
And with us now is a resident of Tumbler Ridge. Manda Meggs is Executive Director of the Tumbler Ridge UNESCO Geopark. Manda, a good evening to you. And I'd just like to hear about why was it important for you to be there with your neighbors at the Vigil tonight?
For me tonight was about coming out and seeing my community for the first time in a few days. It's been incredibly quiet here in Tumbler Ridge. It was wonderful to stand shoulder to shoulder with my friends and neighbors who, you know, we've all been feeling the same thing in the last few days, and that is something that I think is going to be hard to understand for anybody who has not been here. Everyone needed to be together tonight to share their support for each other, to check in, to ask how they're doing and get a hug. That's why I wanted to be here.
Well, that's important. Did you hear what you needed to hear? I mean, what did you make of comments from the Prime Minister and the Premier and the other dignitaries tonight?
Personally, I thought it was beautifully done. It's really hard to describe sort of what's been going on as a citizen of this town at this time, but it was really appreciated, the lack of politics, the show of care, and the keeping the victims in this central to their messaging. Yeah, I think it was a wonderful tribute to a terrible event.
So in the coming days, Manda, what do you and your friends and your neighbors need?
People have been asking us that at the Geopark for the last few days, and my answer has mostly been the same for everybody, and that's to reach out and check in on one another, make sure that you hug your kids at night, a little bit extra tight maybe, and to ensure that you know, the community is keeping what's important at the forefront.
I want to thank you very much for making time for us again, and I hope you find a neighbor or a friend to hug now. Thank you again.
Thank you.
One of the lessons here, and we heard it in some of the speeches, and we just heard it there in terms of, you know, hugging your kids close, making sure that, you know, they know that you love them. And it's just, you know, you don't know what tomorrow will bring. But one other thing I want to say, Gloria, like you grew up, you've lived your whole life in British Columbia. Have you ever been to Tumbler Ridge?
I have been to Tumbler
Wow.
Ridge long ago, Dawson Creek, Fort St. John. Well, growing up in Prince Rupert,
Yeah.
that was kind of a little bit of our trajectory on the way to Alberta.
Well, I haven't been. It is far away from a lot of places. And one small good thing that may come out of this is that Tumbler Ridge be remembered not for the terrible, horrifying act of crime, the, you know, criminal act here, but rather the resilience of a community and a beautiful place to visit, right? And maybe, you know, people, particularly in British Columbia, will make a point of going to see and celebrate Tumbler Ridge when they're ready to have us.
I think we can all relate to that. It's been a pleasure sharing the desk with you tonight, Ian.
And thank you for joining us for the CBC News special on CBC Radio 1. We'll be returning to regular programming for many others. The National with Erica Johnson is coming up next. I'm Ian Hannamansing.
And I'm Gloria Makarenko. Take care.
This evening is about remembrance. It's about reflection. It's about love.
To the families that have suffered this devastating tragedy, know that we stand with you.
And to lose a child is like getting your heart ripped out.
It's about our children. It's a difficult time for all of us, and we'll get through it.
This nation and many of the world's leaders, including their majesties, the King and Queen, stand behind you. But I encourage you to lean on each other, to listen to one another.
I know that nothing I can say will bring your children home.
We are a nation with a broken heart, but we are also a nation with open arms. And those arms wrap all of the people of Tumbler Ridge.
In the darkness and the horror of that day are also in the response of the students in that class, the seeds of what will ensure Tumbler Ridge's recovery, ultimately, from this horrific moment that we're in.
You held each other as you're holding each other right now. This is grace. We don't just give grace, we receive grace. Grace from Kylie, Ezekiel, Zoe, Tiki, Abel, Shonda. Grace that fills this community, this extended family, gathering in the cold and holding candles for all of your children.
We are family.